Excuse me, can we bring this back a couple notches, please? Run! Run! There it is. Okay, well, guess I'll see you in hell. This was a mistake. Movement. It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? The autonomy and freedom that comes with is second to none. This is even more true in gaming, where movement mechanics have been specifically honed and refined over the decades to provide the maximum level of fluidity and therefore enjoyment. But today I say nay. Nay to your enjoyment. Nay to your fun. Today, my mission is a direct affront to God, spitting in the face of all he has ever worked toward. Today, I'll be trying to beat Elden Ring without moving. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to attempt to work my way painstakingly through nothing other than sheer will. What that translates to, well, in a word, bullshit. There will be no shimmying, no shuffling, no schmovement of any kind. I'm gonna play the game without the left stick in basically any capacity. This rule will also extend to the map as well, meaning I won't have the luxury of marking anything for myself. Every obstacle will be meager in scale, but astronomical in annoyance. My brain will need to manifest more folds for this one. Starting off, I must craft a champion with the traits and skills necessary to surmount such an ordeal as we have now created for ourselves. Her name will be Nodi. Nodi Rection. A poor, purposeless sod. She will be the progenitor of the no movement. And she will be beautiful. Starting off, we make our way forward, steadily. Never heard of the tortoise and the hare? Well, she hasn't, because despite being both slow and steady, we find ourselves losing immediately. Locked. And the key? It's over there on that body. I desperately flail in every possible configuration I can dream up, but nothing moves me off my unilateral, strictly forward and backward movement. Nodi's life is over before it's even begun. Thankfully, she somehow managed to bear a child, and her name is Shrub. Shrub the Immover, because I can't fit the rest of the word, immovable. Of course, her beauty is reminiscent of her mother. However, being raised an orphan, she resorted to banditry in her formative years. I've seen your nose, how is that mask staying on? As a bandit, Shrub has the ability now to quickly step. This will make our forward traversal method quite tasty in comparison to before. But the true might of her upbringing is evident when we bust out this bow. See, this bow will allow us to turn our body in a Resident Evil-esque tanky fashion. And with this simple move, everything we dream of is now attainable. Mom, we made it. Moving forward from here is a pretty standard affair. Lining up our shot, we fall to our death, triumphantly. And here we are, the game's true beginning. We spawn in the stranded graveyard. While I could run straight to the door, leading to the wide open world beyond, I'd much rather drop down into the cave of knowledge. Here we'll be able to pick up a few more runes as we make our way to the dreaded boss that lie deep within. Alas, my calculations were off. I find myself halted by a force the likes of which knows no parallel. A waist-high rock formation. What happens when an immovable wall meets just an actual wall? It would seem we flew too close to the sun, and like Icarus before us, we crashed and burned. Another life wasted. How sad. But wasted was it? I think not, for riseth a new champion. Shrub Junior, because she is a woman.
Why are you the way that you are?
And she fucks. I mean, look at that rippling vascularity. Meanwhile, her face is of cherubic quality. Man, you can really tell I'm tired of making new characters, huh? Having inherited her mother's razor-sharp intuition, she follows in her footsteps, literally yeeting her life away in similar fashion. The graveyard welcomes us again, but this time I'll not be staying, for I have a date with destiny. 3 generations down, and we've managed to open 2 doors. I was liking the progress. But the real challenge starts now, in the open wilds. Having made it marginally further than my previous kin, I felt empowered and ready to take on anything. I let loose a volley of arrows intended for the tree sentinel's head. Quickly, I learned that being limited to doing nothing but spamming quick step is not conducive to beating really anything besides the most basic of enemies. So instead, I hide in plain sight.
Did you hear something?
Oh shit.
Must have been my imagination.
Technically, I didn't tilt the stick in any direction, so it doesn't count. After a moment of reprieve, a familiar face greets me, but I'm too broke at the moment to really do anything with him, and so he sends me off and tells me to get a job. But I had a job, a divine job. A few skirmishes were had, but ultimately my two-step was much too jiggy for these poor motion-dependent fuels. Stealthily, I make my way around the gaggle of goons and rest a moment. It is then that my maiden comes to me. We kind of have a thing, so I have to look cool. I lack even the funds necessary for her to lend her helping hand. Looking cool failed. It's quite alright as I'm still gifted her spectral steed, Torrent. Things are beginning to look up. No longer will I need to spam this Ash of War repeatedly in order to make progress. Instead, I can mount my steed and take flight. Thankfully, I can mash the sprint button over and over and maintain forward momentum. You may be wondering, then, how I plan to steer this bad boy. Of course, by way of the bow. I can use this as a sort of camera-guided mount transport. It works flawlessly, and it looks hilarious. Immediately, I make a break for the map fragment nearby, missing it completely and being chased away. We wait about 15 seconds around a corner, and their brains slowly broil in the mush as they lose any conception of our existence within moments. Perfect. While struggling to make any use of the map within the confines of my self-imposed limitations, I realize that I can in fact make some use of it after all. By pressing the triangle button, I can bring up a list of all visited sites of grace, and can scroll through them with the use of the D-pad. Checkmate. Exploring a bit, I roam the fields looking for easy runes. I think I may have found an easy way to passively gain income here, but after minutes of watching and even lobbing a few arrows, the return is pitiful. This will not stand. I meet a supposed friend. More on that later. More on that later. If I'm to be successful in my goal of storming Stormvale, I'll be needing a good weapon, and with a higher than average arcane starting stat, I know just the one. Thankfully, it's very early game, so I can just go ahead and drop into this ravine, run forward a bit until I'm kicked off my mount, and wait for invasion. Now, normally this would be a death sentence, but I have a chip on my shoulder. The friendly face we met earlier will also spawn in to thwart the ne'er-do-well, my protector, my knight in shining. And herein lies the reason. The sole reason that this 3-minute excursion malaised into a 3.5-hour slog. After a few attempts, the Cro-Magnon himself appears just nestled in a nook only 20 feet from where he was needed. However, rather than pop around the corner and do the whole ting thing, and he'd much rather take his sweet-ass time summoning his ethereal form from beyond the fog. Meanwhile, I'm being repeatedly juiced of my life essence. After many attempts, I had devised a system to bring the highest probability of usefulness out of this man. The system was basically to launch a bunch of arrows, generally in the direction of the Phantom, which would cause him to dodge. With no care given to whether or not they're actually in his vicinity, he will dodge, he must dodge. And through his avid dodging, he slows down. The problem still being that, even with this method, this useless hunk of metaphysical shit can still show up too late, as I'm being lobotomized. The other problem is that arrows cost money, moolah, bones, literally. So for every failed attempt comes minutes upon minutes of exploring and scavenging for scraps of runes. I meet my waifu's twin, and she gifts me dead dog ashes. How kind. Bolstered by the love of not one but 2 maidens, I journey onward. Testing the durability of the dead dogs goes about as expected. They're mauled mercilessly until re-dead. They fail to make even a menial difference in many situations. All the same, I love them. After about an hour of repeatedly going in the ravine, being reamed because of a failed tag team, trying to be productive, I say screw it and make my way to Stormhill, picking up plenty of items along my travels to strengthen myself. I even befriend a knight, willing to teach me his ways of combat. Picking up a new skill under his tutelage, I thank him and depart. I kind of forgot that I can't equip Ashes of War, so I assault the goon-gaggled ruins with a volley of arrows, none missing their mark. I perform what is known professionally as a sneak, and retrieve the whetstone knife. Now I can give this ash a whirl. And it's almost useful, but nevertheless, as the sun has always risen and fallen, this man will remain useless. Sensing that I could not rely on that pissant in any conceivable fashion, I set off yet again to amass strength. Off through the mist woods, down to the Siofra River. I explored areas vastly out-leveling me in pursuit of runes. It was then that something magnificent happened. A single, individual fold had developed along the silky smooth exterior of my brain. I realized I need not request the assistance of this false prophet. There was a weapon not too far off that would grant me the strength necessary to best this monster. Alright, before we get too hype. Hey, I am the editing iteration of Honest, and while editing this, I realized that all the footage from here on out is corrupted. Yay! So I present you guys with a totally accurate reenactment of the events that followed. Enjoy. Yeah, so basically I went down south to the Castle of Morn. And I went all the way down south past this big boat, and I made it past, and I didn't get fucked up too badly, and I made it in, and I got to the bonfire, Grace. And then I went up the elevator, and I was like, "Boy, you've got what I want." And I ran up, and I was like, "Kablooey!" and blammo! And everything died. It was super easy, and I was super sick too. And then I got to the chest, and inside was the thing that I was so happy about being able to get with the limitations I've gave myself. So super happy that the footage isn't there. Yay! Anywho, I already killed the guy in all my saves, so I'm just gonna go. Let's just pretend this guy was him. I basically just like spammed the Ash of War, and then he died. It was easy as that. I killed him before even the fucking phantom guy showed up, so he proved useless to the end. Right, well that's the reenactment. Bye. Except it's not, actually. I forgot that I lost this footage too. So I went and I started storming the storm veil, and I made it past, and it was very annoying, and I died a lot, but I finally was able to kite these people around so they wouldn't immediately ass fuck me upon getting kicked off my horse here. And then I made it. I made it to the Grace. Sorry this is ending so anticlimactic, but that's just how I feel. I feel like bleh, this ending, bleh. So I'm just gonna leave. We're gonna fight this dude next. If you enjoyed watching the video, make sure to leave a like. Lets me know that I didn't do too fucking garbage on this one. And yeah, that's the video. Bye.